Welcome in, everyone. We're live. Salute to Knicks Nation. Salute chat. I'm joined by John Schmelk. John, it's great to see you.
Good to
Ready
see
to
you,
talk
man.
some Knicks. How you feeling?
I'm doing good. Ready to talk some Knicks basketball off the Giants bye week, so I should have a little bit of time to breathe here.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's been a crazy Giant season. What are you looking forward to in terms of the off season?
I'm looking forward to the playing better football the last 5 games, and then it should be an exciting draft process with the potential of a top 10 pick. So it'll have a lot of options and a lot to talk about on our Giants content. So everybody should go check that out. Giants Huddle Podcast, Big Blue Kickoff Live. And we'll talk about the season. Then we go heavy draft content. We also have an all draft podcast called Draft Season. So a lot of good Giants content for the people that want to check it out. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt. Doing great work as always. If you're a Giants fan, you know the great work John does, but you also know John is a diehard New York Knicks fan. John,
Sadly.
it's been a pretty great start to the year. To be honest, I would have signed up for this in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you likewise.
100%. I mean, it's been a tough schedule, and the team's playing good basketball. I was talking to somebody at work today who's also a big Knick fan, and we just kind of talked about when they play these teams that are, not that great, like Charlotte, like Detroit last week, and you know what it's like now on the other side when the Knicks were bad the last, 15 years, where, the bad team makes a run in the third quarter, start of the fourth. It's like the fake comeback. They get it to win five, but then the Knicks are just like, all right, we're the better team. We're going to turn it on now. We're still going to win by 15 points. And we've seen that time and time again this year against the lesser opponents. And it's just really nice to be on the other side of that annoying little trend like the Knicks have been over the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, absolutely, really. With all the things that we hoped were gonna click, it was a little slow start. You've been to a game. We're just talking off air. You've been to the Clippers game. That was a good win. What's been the most impressive thing first for you? And we'll start there.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to the game this week. If they didn't make the in-season tournament, they would have had one home game this week. I was going to go to that game, but now since they're actually getting punished, by the way, I'm not sure if fans realize this, by going to the in-season tournament, they're going to have one less home game this year than every other team. They're only going to have 40 home games instead of 41. So that's something. But look, this midseason tournament, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. I don't know how into it you are, but it is something that gives December and November games a little bit more juice. So I'm curious to see what the intensity level is going to be Tuesday night from the players, right? Because I think that's really going to dictate how into it the fans get. Like, is this going to be true playoff intensity, or is it going to be like regular season plus? I'm curious to see, because I think that'll kind of dictate how much the fans kind of get engaged with this too, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. I'm with you. I think I like the concept. I liked it from the beginning. You just wanted to see it, executed, and it's still early. A lot of fans aren't really, if they're not participating, they're not into it. But Knicks Nation is, and I think the further we can get, the more they'll get into it even more. The courts have been something different. But yeah, in terms of the season to this date, this was the most surprising thing. Anything surprised you, what we've seen?
You know, Not really, to be honest with you. I was very bullish this year, and I know Nick fans are probably surprised to hear, they always consider me glass half empty guy, but I was glass half empty guy when this team deserved to be glass half empty because they weren't very good. Going into this year, I thought they went anywhere for, I think I said anywhere from like 47 to 52 games in that area. I thought the young guys would all make, decent improvements. I thought Randall and Brunson would still be really good. I think Tom Thibodeau puts a really high floor on what this team is just because of how hard they work, the defense they play, the rebounding that they do. And I think it gives them a really high floor in terms of the team that they are. So this is about where I thought they were going to be. Now, the early season schedule was very tough. They had a bunch of back-to-backs, right? They had played some good teams. But look, I think we were talking before we started here. I mean, 12-7. I mean, I think all of us would have signed up for that. But am I shocked they're 12-7? No, because frankly, I think this is a really good basketball team. Is it an elite championship level, one of the, you know, 6 to 8 best teams in the NBA? No. But they are right in the middle or top of that second tier of teams. So that's why I'm not that surprised. I thought this team was going to be good this year. And these guys have met expectations. And we'll talk about maybe some of the, there's been a couple small disappointments. I thought Quentin Grimes would come out and give you a little bit more offensively. He kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit, and that's partly his fault. He needs to be more assertive, be more aggressive. RJ got off to a hot start. Now, since coming back with those migraines, he looks like what he's always been. But again, I didn't really expect a huge jump out of RJ, so I'm not surprised. I think his defense has been a little bit better, which has been nice. His passing's been a little better, which has been nice. His 3-point shooting has started to slip after a really hot start, which stinks. But look, RJ's been solid. He is what he is. Randall started the season slow. He wasn't all the way back from that ankle. I think it was pretty clear. And I still don't think he has all his athleticism back. I don't see the same, burst at the rim going towards it, even just off the dribble, first step, and then jumping to the rim. I don't see that same burst. Like when he dunks, he's just not getting as high. And I don't think he's there yet. But on the other hand, I think Randall's been a great decision maker this year. I think, some of his turnovers have been problematic. But look, when you have that high of a usage, you get doubled in the post, that's going to happen. He's hit cutters more this year than I think we've ever seen before, in my opinion. I think the guards have done a good job cutting too. I think Randall's actually cut off the ball a little bit. We've seen Brunson hit him a few times on drive, and then Randall will cut, and he'll hit him for a couple of dunks. So I think Randall's passing has been really good. And, since that slow start, he's coming now. He just got, Eastern Conference Player of the Week. Brunson's 3-point shooting improving has been great. And otherwise, Jalen Brunson. He's wonderful. He's fantastic. Quickly, I think, has taken a little bit of a jump. His scoring's been a little bit more consistent, as has his shooting. And his defense is as good as it's always been. Hart's been what Hart is. DiVincenzo's, I think, has been better than a lot of Knicks fans thought he was going to be. He's hit threes at a high rate. Mitchell Robinson, I think, has taken another step. Still can't hit free throws, but that's okay. It's okay. His defense and his rebounding is phenomenal. Hartenstein's been a great guy off the bench. So, look, I think they put together a good roster. They put together a roster, more importantly, I think, that can survive injuries. You have a lot of repeatable players. So if Grimes has to miss 3 or 4 games, all right, DiVincenzo gets more minutes. If RJ has to miss some games with the migraine, all right, then Hart and DiVincenzo and Grimes gets more minutes. They're built to survive that. The only guys they can't survive losing are Randall and Brunson. They don't have a backup power forward, and Brunson's the best player on the team. So, and I think Robinson's probably the third guy you can least afford to lose, to be honest with you, of how important he is to the defense and rebounding. But they built a good, deep roster that plays defense, that likes playing with each other, that plays hard, and that's going to, give you a pretty good baseline to be a good NBA team.
Yeah, you hit on a lot, man. For me,
sorry, I didn't mean to go all over the place there on you.
Nah, I love it. Definitely, it's great to talk to you, and we've seen a lot of basketball. Actually, it feels like there's been a lot in the 2019 games.
Yeah.
For me, what stood out, I didn't really expect our 3-point shooting to be, it's 7th in the league now, and we're about to look at some key statistics for the Knicks. But yeah, and also our net rating. We are 5th in net rating. We've just moved up from 6th to 5th after 19 games. So statistically, and we'll talk a little bit more about this Bucks matchup specifically, but anything from the Knicks statistical categories like that's surprised you?
Yeah, look, the overall shooting percentage is still poor. This is just not going to be an efficient shooting team, but that's fine. They drive and they rebound, and you get a lot of offensive rebounds that way. The 3-point percentage, I think it has to do with 2 things mostly. One, Jalen Brunson is just on fire from 3, right? He's over 40%. He's been just a man possessed. If he can keep that up for the rest of the year, it's huge. Just in terms of spreading the floor, and he has more confidence dribbling into some of those 3-point shots. RJ's early hot shooting from 3 has certainly helped that. I think Quickly, I'm not sure where Quickly's at right now in terms of 3-point percentage. You could probably know that off the top of your head better than I do, but I feel like he's been more consistent from 3 too. And then, like I mentioned, DiVincenzo's been good. So I think those are the 3 guys that have probably pushed that 3-point percentage up this year, which has been good to see, quite frankly, because Grimes is down. I think he's around 35%. He was 38% last year. So, look, I think that is a little bit surprising. And I think their defense taking as big of a jump as it has, too, has been a little bit surprising. I thought they'd be good defensively, but I don't know if there was a reason why we think they would have been much better than they were last year. But maybe just having the same group in the same defensive system for another year has just taken them up another notch. I think DiVincenzo's active hands and passing lanes, their steals and takeaways has gone up, which I think has really helped the defense a lot. And I think DiVincenzo, underrated, I think has done a really nice job of that. And I think that has kind of helped the rest of the guys too. So those would be the things that I think have surprised me a little bit, which is why the Knicks have the 5th in net rating, which is, obviously an elite number. I'm not sure they're that I don't think they're the fifth best team in the league, but it's certainly a really, really good number.
Yeah, I think the schedule's played a large part as well. But I want to pay credit too to the adjustment made because Julius Randle's 3-point attempts have clearly come down quite a lot, John. I don't know if it had much to do with his first 4 games and the struggle, and he kind of adjusted to taking less now. But I think that's attributed to the Knicks' 3-point percentage being so good. Randle is shooting less volume, Brunson shooting more and better, and RJ start.
Yeah, look, I think you're right, and I'm curious to see what Randall's 3-point attempts per game are. I'm looking it up right now. But yeah, look, and I think that has something to do with the legs with Randall too, right? He's not quite all the way back from that ankle injury, so maybe he's not getting quite as much lift on some of his 3-point shots. Yeah, you're right. He's down from 8.3 attempts per game last year to 5.8 attempts this year, and he's only at 28%. Now, it's been better recently after that, terrible start to your point. But yeah, look, I think that has something to do with it too. You want your best shooters taking the most shots, and I think Randall has done a good job too of facing the basket more, and I think it was Benji made a good point of this, and Prez on Twitter, that when he's drawing these double teams, he's not doing it quite as much with his back to the basket. He's doing it more facing up, which allows him, I think, to see his teammates a little bit better, which I think helps some of the improved passing that we've seen over the course of the year.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, defensively, I mean, Tom Thibodeau masterclass so far, but Mitchell Robinson's been so important. I can't think of a game where Mitch was in foul trouble. Can you?
Yeah.
I mean, in
No, I
19
mean, I think
games.
there was what was Boston, the second Boston game, maybe he got in foul trouble. There was one game where he got in foul trouble in the first half. I can't remember which one. There was one, but that's the only one I remember.
Yeah, you're right. Yep, definitely. And obviously, the offense, there was one game with the hacker Mitch against Phoenix. Tibbs did have to make that adjustment. What have you seen from Tibbs so far?
Look, Tom Thibodeau's Tom Thibodeau, right? I think, you know, he focuses on making the right reads. He keeps a pretty simplified offense. Get to the rim. If you have a lane, shoot it. If you get doubled or they collapse, pass out, find the open man. If you're open for three, take the shot. Move the basketball to the open man. I mean, it's not a complicated offense. There isn't a ton of off-ball movement. I think there's a little bit more cutting this year, which I think has been nice. But look, it's not super complicated, and I think Tom Thibodeau's Tom Thibodeau, and they've brought in, they've built the team to succeed in the way Thibodeau wants to play. So I think this is really good chemistry between the coach and the front office, with Leon Rose understanding what Tom Thibodeau needs to be successful, and those are the players that they've brought in to help him play his way and play his way successfully.
Yeah, you mentioned Tibbs, and obviously, he has his fair critics. But yeah, this year in terms of the roster, he's making the most out of what we have, and he needs credit for that. But if we saw OG Anunoby the other night, John, and that people are saying that was one of the more impressive wins from the Knicks in terms of probably the closest to 4 quarters on the second night of a back-to-back, mind you.
Yeah.
But if there's a player around the league that you feel like Tibbs would love to integrate, if you're trying to think about what Tibbs would love to, to complete this team, because we all feel like it's one piece short. Who do you think that player might be?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it gets tougher and tougher, right? So I think what you have to choose here is you don't want to pick another one-dimensional player, right? Because they already have Brunson, who just is, physically it's hard for him to be a really top defensive player, right? He's just not very big. He's not very athletic. He does his best, taking all his charges and all that stuff. He does a great job with that. And he's worked hard on defense this year. I think he's been better defensively too, right? And we all know what Julius Randle is on defense, which is very inconsistent, at times maddening. And you don't necessarily know what you're going to get from him game in, game out. So I think putting another one-dimensional player in the starting lineup with those two would compromise the defense to a point where I think it hurts you probably more than it helps you. And, I flipped on that a little bit because last year if it was, kind of a one-for-one deal with maybe a protected pick, I was okay sending Barrett in a protected first rounder or something like that for Zach LaVine. I'm probably off of that now just because I think Brunson and Randall have continued to play well enough. So what you really need is a two-way player. I think another guy that can create his own shot efficiently. The problem is that and can spread the floor, right, as an off-ball player that creates space in the paint. So you need a shooter that plays really good defense and create his own shot. Those guys do not grow on trees. Those are the three most important skill sets in the league. And to find a guy that can do all three is very difficult. You have Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. And again, I'm not saying I would target those guys because they're a little bit on the old side for me. But that's the type of guy you want. I still think you want that big wing that can defend other big wings. I still think the Knicks have a little bit of a weakness there, right? They have Josh Hart and Grimes are kind of their two primary defenders on those types of players, but they're only 6'4", right? They aren't the biggest guys in the world. So I think that big wing that can play defense, spread the floor, and do a little bit of his own shot creation, I think that's what you're looking for as your next piece. Aside from a potential superstar, look, you're always going to take a Luka Doncic. You're always going to take Joel Embiid. They're just great players. But I don't think either of those guys are going anywhere. So I think at this point you're looking probably more to complete your puzzle per se than you are looking for the guy that changes the identity of this team as a full superstar, just because I don't know who that guy is and when he's going to become available at this point, which I think, makes the trade tough because you're probably going to have to trade one of your young guys you don't want to move on from to get that guy. That's, many people would consider a small upgrade rather than a big upgrade. But at this point, you don't know when the next star that fits is going to, shake free. So that might be what you have to look at here. And you mentioned a guy like Anunoby, right? Like I think Anunoby is an upgrade over RJ Barrett. Is it a huge upgrade? No. But I think generally speaking, he's an upgrade, right? He's a big wing that could order the wings. I have to look at his 3-point percentage. I think he's still probably a better spot of 3-point shooter than Barrett. But, maybe he doesn't have the same shot creation. RJ's probably a better guy getting to the basket than Anunoby is. But, that's why this is when it gets really tough. They have these assets, they have young players, they have draft picks. But who's the right fit to actually make this team better? That's not just the name. Because I just don't know if that name that is that over-the-top superstar is going to become available and potentially make sense for the Knicks in a potential trade.
Yeah, I love what you said. And I think as the season goes along, we're going to learn a lot more, obviously. And my hope coming into this year was the playoffs, and we'll see another year and see, how close this roster can get. Because I really feel like, in the chat's talking about, some guys who may be needed to stop, like guys in the East, like Porzingis or Tatum and Brown. We may not necessarily need another scorer, but a guy maybe can just stop the other team's best player.
Yeah, guard the big wings, right? That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Tatum and Brown. Like if you put Quentin Grimes on Jason Tatum, Tatum's just bigger than he is, right? And it's going to be difficult for him in that type of matchup.
Yeah, most definitely. And I love the fact that our identity is there. We just maybe need to double down on that. We get more shooting, get guys that are tough. I feel like all our guys that are on the wing, they play up. They play up from their size, but the size might come back, to bite us later. But they do play physical, and they are tough, which is great. And then we're seeing some new teams come up. Orlando. We're seeing Miami still hang around. So that's going to be interesting. But in terms of this matchup now, John, with the Bucks, right? Just highlighting a few things that I see. Pace, they're fifth in pace. We're 29th, right? So we're going to try to slow the game down. Hopefully, we out rebound them. We're first to them, 18th. We're fifth in the league in turnovers. They're 15th. So my keys to this game, if we can limit the turnovers, shoot well. I think we need to shoot threes and we need to shoot well to beat them. Our field goal percentage is 28th. Theirs is third, and their 3-point shooting is 8th. So it's basically one of the best offenses versus the best defense. And can we stop them? What do you think?
Yeah, and look, I think a big matchup issue with the Knicks and the Bucks is pretty simple. They have two guys with like 7'6" wingspans at center and power forward, right? In Brook Lopez and Giannis. And all the Knicks want to do is attack the rim. And it's going to be very hard to attack the rim with those two behemoths in there waiting for you. They're just really good at rim protection, right? We talked about Julius Randle and how he's been good getting to the basket this year. And, even if his athleticism is not all the way back, well, how does he do that? With power and bully ball. Well, he ain't doing that to Giannis, right? Giannis probably weighs more than he is. He's longer than he is, and he's more athletic than he is. So, it's kind of the same when he's going up against Bam Adebayo, right? That's not a great matchup going up against a guy that can match his athleticism, match his physicality, and is actually physically larger in terms of length. Randall's going to struggle in those circumstances. So I worry about that matchup for the Knicks. This is not going to be a big Julius Randle game unless he's hitting his threes. I don't think he's going to have this big game going to the basket. I think RJ is going to have trouble finishing around the rim against Lopez and Giannis, right? So I think you hit it on the head. You got to make your perimeter shots against this Bucks team. They don't have Drew Holiday anymore, right? So Jalen Brunson should be able to have his way a little bit, right? Maybe Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickly can have their way a little bit. Attack Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard does not want to play defense. Attack Damian Lillard. And I think you're going to have to hit your perimeter shots because I think you're going to struggle finishing around the rim, and you're not going to dominate the offensive glass either against a team that is Brook Lopez and Giannis inside. And I think that, to me, is the matchup issue with a team like Milwaukee, is their length. I know their defense isn't as good this year. A big part of that is subbing out Drew Holiday for Damian Lillard. It's just a different world in terms of defensive players, but they're much better scorers. And then how do you match up with Lillard, right? I think that's number two. If Grimes isn't giving what you need offensively and he's only going to play, 18 to 20 minutes a game, who's your next matchup for him? Is it RJ? Is it Quickly? Do they run enough pick and roll to get switches, to get their preferred guy on Lillard? I think that's the other thing, too, that you have to worry about in a matchup like this.
Yeah, the chat's also mentioning some guys, maybe Jeremy Grant could be gettable. But Middleton is creeping under the radar for the Bucks.
Yeah, good player.
I'm with you. Yeah, we need to go at Dame, and I think if we can limit Giannis, not stop him, but limit him, we have an excellent chance at winning. The last game was really contested, John, and we didn't have R.J. Barrett, I believe. So this is going to be the first full-strength Knicks, knock on wood, and nothing happens from now till tomorrow, and then versus the full-strength Bucks. And I think we're younger. They've got an older Brook Lopez. We need to establish physical presence in the paint. And Julius Randle closing out on Giannis is going to be key, because last game he let Giannis, he sagged off, let Giannis shoot threes, and Giannis was hitting them.
Now, I wonder if that was part of the gameplay, though, too, right? I wonder if Tom Thibodeau was like, all right, make him prove he can hit him first. And honestly, is that the worst game plan? I mean, I feel much more comfortable with Giannis shooting threes than I do with him taking the ball to the basket, to be honest with you. Once he starts making them, then you obviously have to adjust. You have to, change your game plan. But look, I'm with you. Middleton is underrated, and he's a good defensive player too. But I think you got to, I think you have to attack their guards. And I think that's kind of what you have to do here. And I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Knicks will hang. And I think, does Lillard hit shots at the end of the game? And I think that's why they made the trade, right? Bucks in tight games the last few years, who's making their shots at the end of these games? And, when they got as far as they did, it was Middleton that had a great year, and he was making those big clutch shots. He's been hurt the last couple of years. Now Lillard's there. So can you cover him late? We saw what happened late in the last game. Lillard kind of took over, hit a couple shots, right? And then, can Jalen Brunson be that guy for the Knicks?
Yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be real close. I got my prediction there. I'm kind of trolling a little, but I think the Knicks win by a point, 111, 110. And I'll get your prediction. But some questions, and Nick is asking, do we feel the current roster can really take that next step? If not, do you actually see us making a move during the season or off season? Look, for me, I really feel confident that this team can go to another level with growth. We've got young players, and they have shown improvement. And I think experience is something you can't discount. Last year in the playoffs, we went to the second round, and players we're seeing come back better. Mitch, R.J. Barrett. We've got so many different lineups, John, that we still haven't fully explored. Like closing with Quickly, DiVincenzo more, or starting DiVincenzo potentially. I really think that this team can go to another level as currently constructed. Now, probably off championship, but Eastern Conference Finals, I think that's possible. What do you think?
Yeah, I buy that. I think the Celtics are just better than they are at this point. I think the Celtics are better than most teams, though, to be honest with you. I forget what game they were showing, or did I see it on Twitter? They were showing the plus minuses for the best teams, the starting lineups for all the teams, and the Celtics were like plus 27 or something ridiculous like that. When their five starters are on the floor at the same time, their like average plus minus has just been off the charts. It's been the best in the league. And they just have a really good mix of players, right, with the guys they can put out there. So I don't think this group can catch the Celtics as currently constructed. I think it's tough. Can they hang with the Bucks? If Lillard and Giannis are healthy, I think the Bucks are probably a better team, to be quite honest with you. But that's okay. Can the Knicks play with the Sixers? Yeah, I think so. Can the Knicks hang with, Orlando and the other teams in the East? Yeah, I think they can. Then you go out west. I still think Denver's really, really good. I'm not sure if the Timberwolves and Thunder are going to, keep up this pace. But I think the Suns are a really good team too once they have everybody healthy, if Bradley Beal ever actually does get healthy. But look, yeah, I agree. I think this team can be the third best team in the Eastern Conference. Do I think they can be the second best team in the Eastern Conference? I don't I don't think so. Maybe in a down year. Will they look to make a move at the trade deadline? Sure. I think they'll be open to possibilities. We were talking before the show about how poorly the Clippers are playing. Do the Clippers get to the point now where they're paying such a big tax bill? And if their record's bad enough, do they look to move a Paul George and do like a full reset? Can you get him without having to give up a ton? He's a guy that in the short term can kind of fit that, can score, can hit the three, can defend his position with size. Can you get him without having to give up one of your great young players? Or, maybe you give up one of your lesser young guys and you give up a couple of picks, but not the whole kit and caboodle. I think that's the type of thing you're looking for here to try to get you into that next tier. Because I like, a starting lineup of Brunson, Randall, George, Mitch, and then, pick your wing than what they're putting out there now. And I think that gets them closer to Boston than where they are with the current set. Because as much as I like Quickly, as much as I like Barrett and the other young guys on the roster, I don't think those guys are ever going to become all NBA quality players. And I think those are the type of guys that move the needle. Like if Randall and Brunson are your two best players, do I think this team can win an NBA title? I don't. I think they need another player to insert themselves into that top two best players in the team if they want to be a title contender.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like though the three best players we have, or four best, including Quickly, can all play the lead role on any night. I think that's still dangerous
Sure.
for defenses to scheme against us. I know they're going to try to contain Brunson, and I want to ask you a bit more about Brunson because I think his growth this year, we might not even see him reach his ceiling yet. He could be the best point guard in the East, right? He's past Trae Young, in my opinion. I mean, I know there's the Halliburton argument, there's Dame, but where does Jalen Brunson rank for you in the East?
That's a good question. Maxi's another guy that's had a really good year, right? Where would I rank Jalen Brunson in the Eastern Conference? That's a really good question. I've not gone through the
And
machinations, so let me bring up the
and can
Eastern
he
Conference here.
can he move up?
Yeah, I mean, I think, him and Drew Holiday, they're different types of players, but I think they're both very valuable, right, in terms of how they play. He's better than anyone on Orlando. Dame, when he's healthy, is better. But Brunson's much more durable than he is. I would put Brunson ahead of Maxey. I would put Brunson ahead of Halliburton, but Halliburton's closing the gap. He's really good. I would put him ahead of Trae Young. Donovan Mitchell. I think Mitchell and Brunson are probably pretty close. I think they're in the same ballpark. They're in the same tier. Yes, but here's the problem. Brunson, and if you go back even to teams that have won titles, it's very hard for a team to win a title when your best player is like 6'2". And I don't think Jalen Brunson's really 6'2". So 6 foot, whatever he happens to be, I think it's very difficult. Just go back to those Clipper teams with Chris Paul. You can go down the list. If your best player is that small, there are ways you can get the ball out of his hands or make his life difficult when you don't have the length or superior athleticism, which Brunson also doesn't have. He's just so crafty. He's such a good shooter. He's such a good scorer. His footwork's awesome. But I think it's hard to be a championship contender when that's your number one option and best player late. Just because I think for a guy that size, it's easier to find ways to limit him than other players. Like let Devin Booker rise and fire against the Suns, right? Like he's got size, he's got length, he goes up, he shoots it. Like that's just a really difficult. Like if Brunson takes that shot, it's a lot easier to close out and challenge that shot than I like Devin Booker, right? And that's just physics. Like Jalen Brunson can get so much, he cannot defeat the laws of physics in terms of size, length, and height and release. So that's kind of where I stand. I love Brunson. He's great. I think he should be an all-NBA player this year, the way he's played so far this year. But I think you need another guy that just has some better physical traits and better size and height and length like that to help you close out some games. But I think it is tough when you have a guy that's a little bit smaller in terms of taking the ball out of his hands. Heck, remember, ended the last game in the playoffs against the Heat, right? He drove, they collapsed. He had to try to pass the ball in that situation because there was no way he's getting the shot up and over. I think it was Adebayo that closed out on him right when he drove to the basket. So that's the issues you're going to run into when your best player is, 6 feet without great explosion athleticism.
I think an awesome start would be just getting guys around Brunson that are more consistent, because the one thing he's really impressed me with is his consistency. But
Yeah.
with Barrett and Randall, we know when they're at their best, like they're good enough to be, a big three. But the Randall and Barrett has just been a little too inconsistent over their course. So if we can just get someone, or their consistency can go up, and I'm really intrigued with this new look Randall, like kind of in a way where he's passing at an amazing rate in terms of reading the defense more. Playoffs is going to be interesting, which is why, like you said before, this game tomorrow, I've got one of my notes, how will both teams handle kind of the playoff type intensity? Because I think, say what you want about the actual cup and the prize, I think just the game alone, I think both teams are going to go after it, as hard as they can. And it's going to be interesting to see how like a player like Grimes and Barrett, do with the intensity on the road and the
Yeah, and
shooting.
Randall, right? I mean, he's a guy that hasn't handled playoff situations particularly well. And I think, everyone wants to give players a break when they're hurt. No one wants to give Randall any type of break that he played against the two best defensive players at his position in consecutive playoff rounds last year on an ankle that required surgery and 3 months of rehabilitation after the year. That's kind of a thing. It's not an excuse, but it's a reason. So I think, people need to take that into consideration in terms of when you look at how he played in the playoffs last year. But again, I'll just reiterate, him versus Giannis is not a great matchup either. Giannis is bigger, he's more athletic, and he's longer. So I think this does have to be a guard group and a guard game. But it comes down to shooting, right? I mean, this is what we talk about all the time with the Knicks. And this is, despite all the offensive rebounding, if you're 28th in the league in field goal percentage, you're not going to an NBA Finals. Just not. You're not. Eventually, you have to make shots. Like, it's the basis of basketball. You must put ball in basket. If you are fifth worst team at putting ball in basket, it's going to be very difficult for you to win anything big in the National Basketball Association, which is why when you add, to your point, guys that can consistently hit shots, not a guy like Randall, you don't know what you're getting every night, especially on defense, but even offensively, his perimeter shot, to your point, has been not the best this year. It has been on and off. We know about RJ Barrett is historically streaky, which is why with him, fans have not seemed to learn yet. They get so high when he has a few great games in a row, and then they get so low when he has a few bad games. And you have to look, until he shows otherwise, you have to live with Barrett's peaks and valleys. That's what he is. He'll look like an all-star for a month, then he looks like he shouldn't be in a rotation for the next 2 or 3 weeks. That's just the way RJ Barrett is until he proves otherwise. So you're right. You need guys that can hit shots consistently. And Grimes needs to shoot better. Quickly has been more consistent this year. Up until this year, he's another guy that's been notoriously streaky, right? You don't know what you're getting every night. Is he a guy that's hitting a bunch of step-back threes from 27 feet? Or is he a guy that can't hit a spot of wide open three in the corner when he gets a perfect pass from Julius Randle? So you're right. And that's come with youth. The Knicks are a young team. These guys, as they get older and get more experience, I think will get more consistent, but you have to live with the growing pains until then.
Yeah, I think I've got a question for you. If you look at some of the Knicks' worst losses, there's a key theme for me, and can you think of does any bad losses this year, or some of the worst losses come to your mind? Against who were they against?
The Milwaukee one was painful. The Phoenix one was painful. I think, when you go up in weight class, I think that's kind of what you see sometimes, when you're a team and you start playing some of the better teams. And I think then some of your weaknesses do come up. And I think you saw it even against the Heat where they had that crazy comeback and came back and won, right? Miami has kind of figured out maybe strong, but they understand the Knick formula of drive and dish, and they don't allow those easy passing lanes off those drives to find players for open shots. And they turned over Julius Randle in that game a bunch of times. I don't remember the number. We saw against the Timberwolves and Minnesota was rolling. And that's where most of the losses have come, right? Against teams that are the best teams in the league. I mean, look at the losses this year. Boston, New Orleans, which was a bad one. They scored only 87 points in that game. You're going to have those games from time to time. They lost a back-to-back to Cleveland. Not a big deal. They lost to Milwaukee. They lost to Boston. They lost to Minnesota. They lost to Phoenix. I mean, these are all some of the best teams in the league, and they've taken care of business against some of the teams that aren't the best. So I think, it goes back to to being able to score enough. And I think, against these better teams, they're not going to let you bully them and offensive rebound them to death. They're just too good. So I think the Knicks, to your point, are going to have to become, a better shooting team if they want to beat some of these upper echelon teams. I think their defense has been more than good enough in some of those games. Though you look at some of the point totals, right, in their losses. Phoenix, they gave up 116. Minnesota, 117. Boston, 114. 110 to Milwaukee. So they have given up more points in some of those games against better teams. So I think that's something else to keep an eye on too.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned the two I was thinking of were the New Orleans game and against Minnesota. So I think the Knicks will struggle against teams that they can't score on easily. With length, physicality. I think teams like the Bucks, the Heat, they can win shootouts. I think offensively we can find ways to score against teams that aren't great defensively, like the Bucks, even if they are powerful offensively themselves. But teams against like I said, Minnesota with huge length, the Pelicans. I think if we're not hitting our shots and they're in our face, they're contesting. We revert back to the same old, bully ball, turning it over, forcing it, all of that stuff. So to me, that's going to be the real test. Even Boston, I think we can beat because I don't think they're super tough or physical, but yes, they're great offensively.
If the Knicks hit their threes, they could beat any team in the league, right? If they go into a game and they shoot really well, they could beat any team in the league. But they don't shoot well every game, and that's kind of the way it goes, right?
Yeah, definitely, man. So let's get your prediction. What's the key to tomorrow night, and what do you think is going to end up happening in this matchup?
Randall cannot be completely outplayed by Giannis. I think that's a big part of this, right? The Knicks are going to need Randall. Again, I don't expect Randall to go out there and put up 35 and shoot a high percentage. Giannis is too good of a player and defender for that to happen. But he cannot be 5 of 17, 0 of 6 from 3, 5 turnovers, Julius Randle. Like, he needs to be okay. He needs to at least be respectable and put up enough points and be efficient enough and not let Giannis go ballistic. I think that's number one. Number two, can you control Dame Lillard, right? You're not going to stop Dame Lillard. And he's just, sometimes the dude just says, all right, I'm going to hit a bunch of 30-foot three-point shots. And you can't stop him. I mean, what are you going to do? But can you control him enough where, he doesn't kill you, especially at the end of the game? And then the third thing for me, again, the Knicks have to hit their shots because they're not going to do well in the paint in this game with all that length with Lopez and Giannis. There's too long in there. You're going to have a lot of trouble down low in the paint trying to score around the rim. So will they hit their outside shots? And if they do, I think if they drive and kick, they'll get open looks whenever they want in this game. They'll get them whenever they want. Can they make those shots? Those, to me, are the three keys to this game.
Yeah, I got to agree with you, man. I think and familiarity, playing this team already a couple times, is going to really help. But yeah,
And
I'm
you have
really
them two
looking.
more times, by the way, back-to-back,
Oh,
December 23rd and 25th, too.
talk about, man, this schedule's insane, really. And then yeah, if we do lose, we might have to play Indiana or the Boston Celtics, whoever's winning or whoever's loses
Yeah,
tonight
on
if
the
we
road.
lose. Yeah, but we've had a tough schedule, and here we are, 12-7. So yeah, it's been great talking, John, and I look forward to catching up later in the season. And I think we'll be somewhere where we are or higher. I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, and then you have a West Coast trip coming up, too. So it's not like it gets easier. It's at Utah, at Phoenix, at Clippers, at Lakers, at Nets after they finish this in-season tournament and play the Raptors at home on December 11th. Then you have those back-to-back Buck games leading into Christmas. That is a hell of a 7-game stretch right there. And then they're at Oklahoma City, by the way. So I take it back. That's a hell of an 8-game stretch against 8 pretty good teams. I know Utah's not great. The other teams are all very talented. And then 3 more games on the road after that. So you're looking at that 8-game stretch, including 8 of 10 games on the road from December 13th to December 30th. And then they have Minnesota at home on the 1st. So it is an extremely tough schedule. If you can stay in this 5 to 6 game over 500 area over the course of this next group of games, I think that's a huge success. And I actually feel pretty good about the game tomorrow. I think Knicks are playing some of their best basketball. I think they'll come out. I think they'll play well. I think they'll probably be a little bit more into it than Milwaukee will, who kind of has those championship aspirations, and the midseason tournament probably means a little bit more to the Knicks than it does to the Bucks. So I know you said 111, 110. I'm going to go 115, 112. Jalen Brunson will hit a floater in the lane to give him that 3-point lead, and then Dame misses a game-tying three as time expires.
Oh yeah, bang. No,
And I'll be
how?
completely wrong, so don't get too excited, Knicks fans.
No, I think it's happening. I think putting it out there. But yeah, Jalen Brunson's been incredible this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he turns up and just goes nuclear on Dame, like you said, attack him.
You
But
have
yeah,
to.
John.
Dame does not want to play defense, man. I guarantee the Bucks are going to attack Brunson. You do the same thing to their offensive player. Same thing.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, and Brunson's defense, he's dogged. He's been drawing the most charges and offensive fouls. He's leading the league in drawn
And
fouls at an amazing.
then that's a big reason their defense is better this year too, because I think Brunson has been better on that end.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, John, any words you want to leave us with?
No, look, I think it's. I'll just say this, and I don't delve into Knicks Twitter anymore because it's still so freaking. It's like more toxic now than it was when the team was bad, which is amazing. I don't know how that's possible, but it is. Guys, enjoy this. Don't you remember how bad it was for so long? You're probably going to win 50 games. Have some fun. Don't lose your mind because Emmanuel Kickley's playing 28 minutes instead of 32 minutes. It's 4 minutes. I get it. I think he should play more too. I love Emmanuel Quickley. He's really good. Don't let it ruin your enjoyment of the games and the fact that this team's actually a good basketball team. For the first time since many of you out there that are younger have been freaking alive, enjoy this. Please. Remember how bad it's been. Have some fun. Enjoy that it's a good team. It's never going to be perfect. Every fan base is mad about something. But enjoy the fact this Knicks team is good and hope they can continue to improve as young guys get better and maybe they add a big vet to put them over the top. But have fun with this. This is what good basketball looks like. We haven't seen it here for a very long time. Have fun. I'll leave you with that.
Yeah, no, awesome. Appreciate you, John, and let's chat soon.
You too, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, peace. John SCHMEELK, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to continue for talking, and we'll look at the current status of the Pacers Celtics game, and I will answer a few questions from the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you for rocking out. The streets are buzzing. Smash that like button. And yeah, I mean, to completely agree with John on terms of his last point about, fans, they see things through a different lens. Every fan sees things differently. Every person's been a fan for, specific amount of time. So they're key things. But also they see deficiencies of the team as well in different ways. And some of them support individual players more than others, which I've come to learn. But, end of the day, we all want this team to win, and the team is trending upwards. That's the biggest thing. And the team's been growing. Yes, there's deficiencies like every team has. How nervous do you think a Bucks fan is going to be, ladies and gentlemen, specifically, talking about tomorrow night? And the all-in move they made, like an all-in move. Now, when we look at the Knicks, they haven't made their all-in move yet. They've got ways that they can go, in terms of all these draft picks that we've continually talked about. Players, internally growing still, and I think it's a worthy conversation to have about Brunson, and his ceiling, which we talked with John about, because this year he's come back even better. So it's like, okay, every single year in the league, Jalen Brunson's come in better. So what's to say that he's not going to come in next season, even better? Why should we, even explore putting a ceiling on an individual type of player when they've improved every single year? Now, is it going to be a huge amount? Probably not. He has limitations with the size, like most people say. But if he can, with the shooting that he's displaying, I'm saying if that's sustainable, not saying it is, but if it's sustainable, there's no difference between Damian Lillard, in my opinion, at his peak. I'm not talking Damian Lillard now, but Portland Trailblazers Damian Lillard. If Jalen Brunson's shooting this kind of efficiency on this volume and can be a better defender than Dame, a willing distributor as well, and the fact that he's only 26 as well, 27, yeah, it could be close, but I think, yeah, Brunson, I need to watch that closely the rest of this year, right? And just see how he continues to grow. Now, Julius Randle, people know, okay, skill set wise, physicality, he's kind of at a ceiling. But a player mentally matures as their career goes along. What if Julius Randle's mentality and processing of the game was to improve? You know, that's another key thing to look at as well. We know the habits of Randle's going to be, you know, most likely in terms of the temperament is going to continue. But yeah, if Randle can play more team ball, he's already limited his 3-point attempts, which, you know, through the coaching department analytics, maybe they got him to buy in, you know, to shooting less attempts. Because everything we've heard is Julius Randle, in terms of his confidence, you know, he wants to be a lead guy. So for him to be shooting less threes, that's probably not just on him. He's probably bought in to you know, to what the coaching team wants as well. So yeah, it's working out. But yeah, man, I wouldn't expect to be sitting here talking about the Knicks being you know, fifth in net rating, third in defense, 12th in offense, right? And I think pace, you know, it'll be a nice Christmas gift to get that pace up, but I don't know if that's going to happen, because it actually suits us being a little bit slower in terms of not turning the ball over, trying to get quality shots as well, limit the possessions. Obviously with Brunson and Randle running up and down, that's going to be more tricky, fam. But I mentioned the youth. You know, the Knicks have that youth over the Bucks. You know, they've got the Devo show. They've got Quick. They got Hart that runs up and down like a race car. In terms of that, I think if we take care of the ball this season, we continue to be low in turnovers. I think that's huge. If I had to rank what I think is the most rewarding thing, I think, yeah, the net rating and the 3-point shooting, but being fifth in turnovers is not something to gloss over as well. We're doing all of this, and considering we're 28th in field goal, like Dirty saying in chat, you know, guys at the rim, if we can shoot better at the rim, you know, that's where Julius does struggle at times, Barrett as well. You know, they don't have the biggest wingspan, especially Julius has got kind of short arms, needs to pump fake 4 times, you know, to get a look under the rim. I think, yeah, if we can improve the field goal percentage, that's going to be key. You know, try to get looks in the mid-range, continue to swing the ball around. You know, I do think the assists will naturally go up. I think we're around like 26th or 28th in assists. But if we're gonna shoot threes off the catch, I think that should go up, guys. But yeah, we can match it with anyone. So the fascinating thing for me tomorrow, man, is going to be does the power of the Milwaukee Bucks offense running into the might of the New York Knicks defense, Bulls collide? What's going to happen? Is the Knicks defense going to be able to limit the Bucks, or are we going to be leaving them wide open? You know, giving them easy looks. I think yeah, what's going to be key is Julius Randle closing out on the perimeter. When Julius does have that pep in his step, the Knicks usually have win the game, or have a great chance at winning. What are your keys to the game, guys? So yeah, Giannis torched us last time from the perimeter, and I think the Knicks obviously hitting shots ourselves, but I'm not worried with Brunson, the way he's playing, with Randle offensively. Barrett, you know, is due to break out and have the best game since he's returned. The Grimes stopper, you know, he's facing some criticism. He's still going to be in the starting lineup. Thibodeau he's not going to make any move just yet. This would be a perfect stage for the Grimes stopper to come out, hit some early threes, fam. And I won't discredit the leaders of this team trying to seek out Grimes and get him some looks. Specifically Brunson, Randall. If he's backing his man down, I know Randall's probably going to move the ball quickly and get it to Grimes as well. Pleasing thing is, guys, as well, Josh Hart breaking out last game, huge performance from Hart. So if we're gonna see last year's version of Hart more, then yeah, this team can go to another level. We did address the shooting with Devo, and a lot of people talked about in the off season. Did we really make any upgrade? Well, I think we're seeing it. However marginal you think it is, the Knicks are a better team this year. The 3-point shooting is up. The defense is even better than last year so far as well. And the schedule's been tough. So, yeah, man, all I can do is just tip my cap. But the schedule, ladies and gentlemen, is going to really start to, well, not start to, but it's going to continue to be tough, fam. Like I said, this week, firstly, salute to Julius Randle for being the second New York Knick this season to be awarded the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. Fam, look at those numbers. 24 points per game, basically 25 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 assists as well, with the team going 3-0 in that stretch, fam. So Brunson really clicking on all cylinders now, and Julius Randle is clicking on all cylinders as an all-star type performance, right? And then, yeah, like I said, we've got that extra support with Devo now, with Hart, Grimes, Barrett, and of course Mitch, who's done a few things offensively this year. Keys, man, Vaughn, salute. Dirty Dancers in the chat, and I appreciate everyone buzzing. Jerry, iStream, Daniel, Replay Squad, salute. Vaughn says Grimes can't let Dame rest on D. Share the ball, move the ball. Randall must get better down the stretch of this one. Yeah, exactly, man, exactly. Yeah, the intensity is going to be nice. Like I said about this tournament, however you feel about it, it's another high-intensity, high-pressure game on the road against the team we've played a few times already. So this is kind of like the closest thing to a playoff game without it being the playoffs. In terms of adjustments, are we going to be better than we were last outing on the road? Closing them out early. Are they going to adjust and try to do something against us as well? Maybe get Brook Lopez out there, trying to get him shooting a little bit more too. So yeah, this matchup's fascinating, man. For so many reasons, I know we're going to go for it. So many reasons I want us to win, because for the record, the Bucks are 14-6 versus the 12-7 Knicks. So just the win alone, just to beat the Bucks, will send them to 14-7, and we'll go to 13-7 as we continue to climb the standings. So that's the first reason we want to win. The second reason is obviously we don't want to have to play the next day against the Celtics or the Pacers. As I ring up the score there, we'll see what's happening, fam. As the Indiana Pacers picked up the huge win, 122 to the Celtics, man, 112. So, man, congrats to the Pacers on a 10-point win, 122-112. The Pacers move on, and it's kind of like they wanted it more. They move to 11-8. The Celtics go down to 15-5. So, like I said, man, that reiterates my point. If the Knicks lose, we'll have to play Boston, fam. So that's going to be even tougher. So, and now if we win, the pathway to the championship game opens up. So congrats to the Indy pacemakers. They go to Vegas, baby. The first team Vegas bound on their home floor. So big time performance. But yeah, the Celtics missing KP, showing some vulnerability fam, like Dirty said earlier. Um, that's something I said from day one, man, about KP. The talent was there. He's been playing really well with Boston. They look most improved, but with Porzingis out with the health issues, it's no different to before, man. Except they're missing um, Marcus Smart. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see Boston throughout this season if KP can be healthy, man. Um, but yeah, with that situation, I really feel like yeah, the Knicks will have an excellent chance to pull this one out if we shoot well and get through, man. We need to play Indiana. So yeah, buzzers in the chat, salute. We did talk a lot about the matchups with John SCHMEELK. But yeah, my keys are yeah, limiting Dame. Dame is hot coming in. He's my starting guard in my fantasy team. Dame's been playing really well. He's been moving the ball, not scoring in the high 20s like he can, but he's been racking up assists, kind of scoring in the low to mid 20s. But yeah, keys to the game will be play at our normal pace, right? Don't turn the ball over. Get quality looks, move the ball, and you know, and pummel them on defense, right? Pummel them, right? Like I said, what's their strength? They're fourth in offensive rating. What's our strength? We're third in defensive rating. So we got to stick true to our identity. Except we're a better net rating team because our offense is 12th. Their defense is 21st. So there's a larger a disparity there. So yeah, overall, it's the 5th net rating team, the Knicks, versus the 11th net rated team. So yeah, stay true to our identity and lock them down. Be physical, you know, grind it out like a real Tom Thibodeau playoff game, man. Mitchell Robinson is going to be a big key. He's going to mix it up, and I think yeah, against the old legs of Brook Lopez, I think yeah, Mitchie's going to be huge. So that's one of my keys to watch. Mitchie dominating, and then can Barrett or Grimes or Devo quickly step up and support Randall and Brunson? How many of those guys are going to step up? Yeah, is going to be real huge. So with that said, yeah, all our guys are healthy. There's been nobody on the injury report, fam. RJ Barrett, the migraines are basically subsided, and he's you know no excuses. You know, he didn't want to make any excuses for his recent performances. So I think yeah, he's due for a big one. Julius Randle will be keen to show out as the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. In a playoff type setting, he'll take this matchup real personally, I feel as well. So, Brunson we already know can light up Dame. So what we get out of Randall and the rest of the cast, I think is going to be the difference, fam. But like I said, man, it's going to be like a collision course, bulls colliding. Can one of the best offenses overcome one of the best defenses with this situation? But one of the wild cards is pace. We are 29th. The Bucks are 5th. That's a huge disparity. That's like basically one of the fastest teams against one of the slowest. Do we compromise and try to meet them in the middle, or do we stay true to our normal pace and and just take care of the ball? It's going to be interesting. One thing I want to talk to you guys about too is closing lineups. We talked about Grimes and Devo at length, but I really think for now that's not going to change right now. Maybe for at least another week or so. We'll see. But closing lineups, everything's up in the air. Tom Thibodeau has been capable of changing closing lineups, and I do think he's going to ride the hot hand. So who is your preferred closing lineup, fam? Now, taking into account they've got Chris Middleton, they've got Dame, they've got Size, Giannis, Brook. Closing with Quickly is still a preferred option for me, but we'll see how he's playing. Often when Quickly is there to start the fourth, if he's swishing and he's playing really well, I think he's likely to leave him in. Um, but we'll see, obviously, defensively, if Grimes is doing a really good job on Middleton. We'll see if Josh Hart, uh, gets that assignment as well. Obviously, Randall's going to be there at the four. So yeah, whether Hart can close is going to be dependent on, is he winning the matchup, against Middleton, or is Barrett and Grimes doing well? So the Bucks aren't they're not so deep. They've really lost some depth. So yeah, it's really they're about 7 deep, fam, 7, 8 deep. But our bench is way stronger, basically. Yeah, good point. Dirty Dancer mentions, can we even imagine what Dolan will do to the Sphere if we win this mid-season chip? Yep, it'll be all over the place. Yep. Howard Beck, friend of the show, did a great article on how this NBA Cup came about and what is winning going to mean to fans. I don't think we can really quantify it. No one's really thinking about yet. I think it's just going to be more of that feel-good vibe, and then let's move on to the Larry O'Brien. If the Knicks win, I think there'll be that prestige as the years go by. More teams win. But yeah, I really think for the players, it's just going to be more personal for them. It's going to be rewarding for them to say that they've won something in the league. LeBron might go all out. You never know. Winning MVP might be big. Of course, some players want the money too. Yes, Randall and Brunson and Barrett, those guys, the 500,000 is still significant, but it's not probably the main motivation. But for guys like Deuce, Jericho, Archie Diacono, end of the bench guys, Jeffries, those guys, even Deuce. So I think for them, the money's going to be even more significant. Like 500K is half a milli. Dirty says closing lineup should always be Brunson, Quick, Randall, Mitch, and whoever is hot between RJ or Hart. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that Tibbs is thinking the same thing as well. Obviously, if there's injuries, Devo as well, Barrett, but obviously Grimes. It's kind of disappointing recently. 20 minutes is kind of where he's at, fam. So I'm really not worried about Grimes long term. I know some people are, but the trade buzz is already starting to heighten. I think let's see this play out a little bit in terms of seeing Grimes' value on defense. We can't forget that he's our best point of attack perimeter defender as well. And if we're going to make a run this year, we need that. We already addressed the shooting this year with DiVincenzo. I don't think we need a DeMar DeRozan. If anything, we need another large wing that can defend the Tatums, the Browns, the Anthony Edwards, and those guys. Guys that can slow down the Giannis's and the Zions. Right, that's what we need. Right, people trying to get another All-Star up in here like there's 6 basketballs. How's DeMar DeRozan going to operate with 4 other guys that need to eat? In case you haven't paid attention, look what's happening with the Clippers right now. The Clippers are like 9th or 10th, and they've got no cohesion. Randall's starting to pass the ball around. Let's see how this goes, right? But if at 40 game mark we're struggling, then we'll look at it more. But I think we've got the nice balance. We've got a nice mix of guys that can really, cause some havoc, some headache against these teams, right? And we're coming. We'll look around the league in a minute. But the Knicks are tied with Philly, right? All this talk about Philly having Embiid, Maxey, all the role players. The Knicks haven't played their best basketball yet, and we're tied. So look at all these stats. This ain't made up. Right? This ain't a fluke. The New York Knicks are, top 5 in net rating. Now, I do think the offense is probably going to fall off a little with the shooting, but I think the defense is sustainable, absolutely sustainable, and we're decent in steals. as well. Let me bring up the team stats right now. Yeah, as you can see, fam, look at everything trending up as well. We moved from sixth in net rating, we're up to fifth. We were fifth in defensive rating, we're up to third now. We're first in opponents' points per game, best in the league. So, like I said, man, tomorrow night the Bucks won't know what hit them. Hopefully, if we're all locked in. The pleasing thing for me is our points per game has jumped from 28th to 24th. So we move up 4 spots from last game in points per game. So we are slowly starting to creep, get that up. Moving up is 10th in opponents' 3-point percentage as well. Top 10 in the league at limiting 3-point percentage. I know that can get better as well because there's been games where we haven't closed out with Randall specifically, and some of these guys slow-footed. 13th in opponents' field goal percentage as well. That's beautiful as well. So 13th in steals. So everything's in the top half of the league defensively. So we're better than a lot of teams people were questionable about. The Clevelands, the Torontos, the Indies. Actually, giving credit to Indy, we might not be above Indy, but I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to bring that up now, and I will look at the standings, fam. Let me get this thing up. But yeah, I appreciate your keys to the game as well, Vaughn, and the chat's buzzing right now as we look at the standings and the Pacers pulling off a big win. Refresh that one. The Pacers win by 10. 122 to 112. So that speaks of the parity around the East. And then tonight, man, we've got a great matchup with the Kings and the Pels. As I get this one up on the larger screen there. Yeah, maybe the Pacers did want it more tonight, but they do have the talent. So if we look at the standings, the Knicks are basically, with such a tough start to the year, we're right there. And beating the Bucks would be a huge swing as well. The third, Bucks 14 and 6th, with the Celtics taking an L tonight. That brings the New York Knicks to only 2.5 games back of the number 1 seed, ladies and gentlemen, at the quarter waypoint of the season. 12 and 7. I would have signed up for that ASAP. I would have signed up for 500 right now, realistically, if you asked me before the year. So I think, for us to only be 2.5 games back of first, with a chance to make a statement win and climb the Sixers as well. It's big time. And yes, we are ahead of the Pacers now as well, who are right there. So they're coming. Obviously, the Magic, I think the Magic will come down a bit. But you just never know. The youthful confidence, we'll see. My prediction, guys, I think we win by 1 point. I think it's going to be a tight one. And who do you think could be a good fit? Buzzer says, could we get Mook Morris, a former Knick? If we are looking at an acquisition, man, I would like that. I think the front office might just be looking for a complimentary piece, fam, at the deadline. A guy who can defend a little, have some grittiness, shoot the ball. He's a piece to look out for, fam. I don't know if the Sixers are going to let Nicholas Batum go. He could be interesting. Maybe we dip in for a more younger player with upside, like Tari Eason with Houston, might not be getting as many minutes. I think, like I said to John, man, we don't necessarily need a bucket getter like a DeRozan. I think with one basketball, we have enough guys to get shots up. Really, remember, this is a year RJ Barrett is, he's going to finish the year better than the way he started. I'm confident of that. He's only in his 5th year and he's still growing. He's only been to the playoffs twice. Hopefully, I think he'll be in the playoffs the 3rd time. this year as well. The shooting is the huge swing skill. But yeah, obviously, like John said, Twitter is different. People do react to each game, which I can understand. The way I look at it is, with a team, there's lead roles and then there's supporting cast. There's supporting actors. You have to be willing to do both. RJ Barrett can be the lead on certain nights, and then he can play the supporting role. If he's giving us 15 and 6, 18 and 9, or 22 and 7, he can do it on any night. But it's about efficiency. And the way Brunson and Randall are moving the ball, guys are going to get shots. Devo talked about the energy that the basketball's got right now with it. Players moving it and knowing that it's going to come back to them as well. Trusting the pass, like Tibbs is saying. So I think the offense has upside. I think our defense, fam, is gonna be where it's at. So you see some things trending up. I don't really feel like things will fall down. Maybe the 3-point percentage. But I do think the field goal percentage will go up to currently 28th in field goals and now up to 24th in points per game. Buzzer says, how will RJ finish the year? 22, 5 and 5. That would be excellent. I think he can rebound better than 5 though. I can think he can finish the year 21, 7 and 5. Yeah, 21, 7 and 5. But like I said, on some nights it's not going to look like that. It's the average, Fans want Brunson, Randall and Barrett to look excellent every night. If you watch the box scores around the NBA, not everybody plays well, I'm afraid, on every single night, right? Even the best of them have down nights. So it's all about how the game is going. Are we moving the ball? Are we giving the rock to the guy with the best possible shot? Is a guy forcing it if he's not shooting well? Is he going to be a willing distributor? All of those things is key, fam. And like they say, man, don't get too high, don't get too low. You judge in sample sizes too, not game to game. So I think, yeah, with that said, the Knicks, need some extra size in terms of guarding the best wing. I think that's it. I think offensively, if we continue to shoot well, we'll be okay, man. Daras salute in the chat. What's good? Play-in is a measuring stick. Yes, sir. Big time, man. We're in the Elite 8, and we're 5th in net rating, man. So it ain't a coincidence, we found ourselves here. And I think the New York Knicks are, one of the best 8 teams in the NBA right now. But how do we perform when the pressure is high? That's going to be key now. And these wins and losses in the regular season, that's exactly what they are. Just regular games. But tomorrow night, this one has extra juice, man. A lot of extra juice. So as you guys see the tail of the tape, both teams head to head. 3-point shooting is another key tomorrow. Who shoots hot? Who shoots cold? 8th for the Bucks in threes. The 7th, the New York Knicks in threes as well. Something's got to give. If both teams shoot well tomorrow, we might see a high-scoring affair. So, and then there might not be many rebounds for the Knicks to gobble up. So I think that's going to be key. Mitchie's key, keeping Brook off the glass, limiting Giannis from getting in any of those putbacks. Heck, put Giannis on the line. If Giannis is trying to go coast to coast or get an easy bucket, put him on the line, man. Giannis is a worse free throw shooter than people know. He likes that extra long routine, and he does struggle sometimes as well. So, yeah, put him on the line, man. To die for us, what's good? Hope all is having a lovely night. Hopefully tomorrow night is even better for our beloved Knicks. Let's go, fam. Yep. Salute. Well, for me, it's already been a good night in terms of Indy getting through. Hopefully, you're optimistic about tomorrow, and I think the Knicks there really got a chance against the Bucks, right? Third time's a charm. I think we've played them twice. Dirty says we have made a trade mid-season every year. Should always be looking to upgrade a little. Yeah, exactly. And I see Dwight's comment, appreciate you, salute. Yeah, I don't want a major trade to disrupt things right now in season, but if it's a minor move or a guy off the waiver wire, I think I would be okay with it if he fits a need. I'm aware that the rotation's quite crowded, bringing another guy in. But yeah, if he fits the need and he doesn't need the rock, he can shoot, he can rebound and defend. Yeah, he can be there as maybe break glass in case of emergency. Because my fear is getting it all the way back to the playoffs, man, like last year, and a couple guys go down or an ankle roll. You're in a game 6 or game 7 without your best guys, and then you're short-handed. So I think it doesn't hurt, to go into the NBA playoffs with extra length and some backup, But yeah, we'll see how this season continues. I'm loving it so far. I never thought, Brunson would be shooting the three like this. Right? I think you can get to a Damian Lillard level, right, for his career offensively. Yeah, Bogdanovich is another dude, but yeah, age-wise, man, yeah, similar to a Fournier. I see you. Yeah, and I think a guy who would need the ball a lot as well. So yeah, he does like to operate, and the salary is interesting as well. For me, I'm pouring more into the development of our younger guys. With Grimes, Barrett, Quick, and Devo. Yeah, focus on those guys. They're all still young, and they're a huge part of the team's success. I like where Brunson and Randall are headed. To Die For says trades should only be made if it makes sense for chemistry and makeup. Yep, definitely. It's all about upgrading the roster. So I think, with Quickly's situation, with his future, I honestly think the Knicks are, they're in on Quickly, I feel. But I do know that, in a bigger move, obviously the team's going to bring up Quickly's name. But I really think for now the team's, happy to see this play out with Quick all the way through to the summer. Right, there's no need to be entertaining the move right now. Quickly's salary is really low, and it's, for trade purposes, right, doesn't make as much sense. So yeah, I think a big trade deadline move is very, very unlikely, fam, this year. I really do, in terms of a big move. But obviously the standings will be key, guys. We are in a great spot, but obviously with the Magic, unexpectedly in second, that's kind of pushed us down a little. Could you imagine if the Magic weren't having a great season? We'd be locked into the 4th seed right now, home court, fam. Now, anytime we play the Cavs, the Nets, the Pacers, the Sixers, the Bucks, that's going to be key more than any other games, because it's going to be a dogfight, fam. It's going to be a tussle all the way through to the end to finish higher than these teams. We're off to a great start against the Heat in terms of the tiebreaker. We haven't played the Pacers yet. We haven't played Philly yet, I believe. Maybe we've played them once in Philly, but I don't think we've played Philly yet. And we've played the Bucks twice. So this is our chance to obviously equalize the tiebreaker as well. If we can hopefully beat the Bucks twice, too. We haven't played the Magic, so hopefully we could give them a loss as well. We've won the season series against the Hawks. We haven't played the Brooklyn Nets yet, and we've beaten the Cleveland Cavaliers as well. So we're off to a great start in terms of the tiebreakers there, man. But yeah, so far we haven't been punished yet with the lack of size. We'll see how it goes. I think Boston's the team I fear the most. The Tatums, the Browns, and the defensive prowess. that they've got with Derek White and Drew, and of course KP if he's healthy. Um, and as I said to John, guys, I think the losses against the Pelicans and the T Wolves taught us a lot about the deficiencies of our team, and the struggles we can have against, teams that can be really physical with us with length as well. Guys like a mismatch, like Ant-Man, who can kind of go at your Grimeses, your Hearts and bully them as well. So yeah, credit to RJ in defensively. He's stepped up a bit this year, but he's still got, for us and this team as a lockdown wing, he's got ways to go. But offensively, excellent start, and he's fallen back down a little bit, and I think it's going to go back up. I think it's a rhythm situation, taking some time off, and also with the way that these guys are moving the rock, I think Barrett's going to continue to get lots of looks, and he's going to get back into another rhythm, guys. So yeah, man. With that said, as we'll get ready to wrap up shortly. But yeah, man, salute to Julius Randle. After a slow start, the way him and Brunson have bounced back kind of lets me know that the start of the year was a combination of, these guys coasting a little bit, maybe coming in off a tough training camp. They weren't right to start the year. Now they're clicking, and we're seeing, a souped up version of both of them in terms of playmaking for Randall, less threes, and then the shooting of Jalen Brunson, the big time shooting, and an improvement defensively too. So yeah, shout out. But yeah, for me, man, we just got to stick true to our identity tomorrow. Play physical defense, close out hard, lock them down, and share the ball. Try not to go too isolation and play into their hands, because Giannis is going to get off, going to get the steal, get on the break, and then the crowd is going to start to get crazy. Remember, this is on the road, going to be a playoff type atmosphere as well. How do we quiet the crowd early? Is to swish some threes, get Brunson cooking early, get some good screens from Mitchie and Julius. Also, maybe if the three's not fallen, what's the next option for the Knicks? Is to get to the line, fam. Slow the game down a bit. Grind them down, get to the line. They've got length, but they're not a good defensive team. I think so. If we go at them, I think Brunson and Barrett, Randall can get them in foul trouble as well. It's going to be my kind of first big look at Middleton. Try to see how much Middleton's fallen off. Obviously, he's the X factor for the Bucks because, defensively, he's one of their better defenders, but offensively, he's the third wheel. So, I think if Middleton has a good game, it's going to be headaches for us, fam. But yeah, containing Giannis for me is the key. Lillard's going to get loose. I think if we can limit Giannis, is going to be huge. Giannis does settle occasionally in these big games for deep threes. He does play frustrated as well sometimes. If you build that brick wall, fam. Buzzer says hit that open elbow. Yep, yes sir, definitely, man. Also in the corners, get move cut, and move back door too. So I think comfortability will be okay. We've played in Milwaukee already, I think twice this year. We've played them both in Milwaukee. So obviously I think, yeah, Randall, Barrett, these guys will have a point to prove, man. I really do. One also underrated fact is, the Bucks are a new team, still figuring things out with Dame. But the New York Knicks, on the other hand, are coming back with consistency. So I think we're really starting to hit our stride. The Bucks have still been a little up and down, sloppy. As I've got my notes, the concern for them is shaky form and defense. But what they've got going for them now is the floor spacing. I think it's a brand new kind of floor spacing with Damian out there, and Giannis. starting to gel as well. Obviously, one of the biggest disparities is rebounding percentage too. You know, we're bang number one, first in the league. Rebound percentage. The Bucks are 18th in rebound percentage as well. Getting Brook Lopez off the glass is going to be key, or vice versa. Brook Lopez trying to keep us off the glass is key. I think they're going to try to gang rebound with Giannis and Middleton as well. But yeah, man, I think our guys are hungry. The guys like Josh Hart's, the end of the bench guys, this is a big spotlight for them too. You know, Devo playing against his former team. A guy like Grimes, who hasn't played in that many of these big games. Obviously, the extra cash. The New York Knicks will pocket individually $100,000 if they win tomorrow each, as well as the $50,000 last round. And I think, obviously, the fact that the Pacers have now got through, I think the New York Knicks will be looking at themselves now, thinking, "Man, the door is wide open now. We need to take the head off the Buck, behead the Buck." And I think, yeah, man, it's going to be interesting with the Celtics now out, right? It'll be the Knicks and the Pacers in the semi-finals of the in-season tourney, man. Throwback to the 1990s. Imagine that, fam. In Vegas, too. It's going to be popping. Forget about MSG. Forget about in Indiana. It's going to be in a brand new neutral venue with fans going crazy, with the liquor flowing, and the entertainment capital. I think, that alone will be huge for the NBA. The Knicks Pacers in the East semi-finals, and then maybe a young blood like the Kings up against the Suns. That'll be interesting too. Maybe a Kings-Knicks for the first championship in 50 years. The first mini championship. I stand corrected. RJ did not play in those other games. That's the key. That's the difference, fam. Yep. I know for a fact he didn't play in the last one. Yeah, I don't think he played in the first one either, but he may have played in the first one, but he didn't play in the last one, man. But yeah, absolutely, man. To die for, man. Pacers, Knicks will be huge. The Halliburton Bowl with Obi on their side as well. That'll be key. But yeah, shout out to the Pacers. We are ahead of them still, but they executed. Obviously, home floor meant a lot for them tonight. Guys just came to play for them because the Celtics were ahead. But one of the reasons I've been saying that the Celtics are vulnerable without KP because they're basically the same old team, and they've got they haven't got they've got Drew. They've got obviously Drew now, but in terms of no Marcus Smart and KP. There, if KP's not healthy, I think it's going to be very different, in terms of like them going deep. They're a little softer than people think, right? Tatum and Brown has a tendency to go up and down Brown, and a lot rests on Tatum, on his shoulders as well. So, yeah, Randall bully ball. Let's see. Yeah, Marcus Morris has been in this market. He knows the deal. We do need some people that buy in. If they are going to come to the Knicks, they know what we're all about. They shouldn't disrupt things too much. Someone who can come in and buy in to the situation. With Quentin Grimes, the wrist does seem to be bothering him, man. I really think it's something. Ever since he was out, the shooting's been down, but yeah, only he knows how serious it is. I think we'll notice when the play starts to uptick. But yeah, I think Grimes' defensive importance, people still overlook that. We definitely need all our soldiers. Quentin Grimes is a big part of our defense, and and obviously we're third in defensive rating, so that speaks for itself, right? You take Quentin Grimes off the team, we'll never find a way of knowing, but I won't be surprised if the defensive rating were to drop drastically without Quentin Grimes too. Also, our opponent's 3-point shooting percentage is lower, so we are closing out better, with the defensive side. As I get that up, yeah, our opponent's 3-point percentage, we're 10th in the league, so that's been improvement on Tom Thibodeau's team. The first year or two with Tibbs, we would leave wide open shooters and not close out well. We've improved that way, and teams aren't shooting that well against us from three, so that's been key. Hopefully that continues. I think Jalen Brunson playing more dogged on the perimeter has been a factor, and I think Quentin Grimes also. But yeah, I won't be surprised if tomorrow night is a shootout. As we said, man, in terms of the 8th 3-point shooting team versus the 7th 3-point shooting team. So yeah, if we can lock them down, limit good looks, I think we'll rebound. We're first in the league in rebounding, and maybe we start to get out on the break. Let's see. Damian Lillard, the defense of the Bucks has dropped. They're 21st in the league, in defense. So, yeah, man, I think the Knicks pull this one out, and it's a Knicks-Pacers semi-final. We'll be live post-game after the game. Salute to the chat. Salute replay squad. And I think let's get it, fam. Big-time game and a stage for this squad to show out. Obviously, everyone's going to be focused on how Randall does, Barrett, Grimes, and this team is going to go for this cup, I think, because for so many reasons, like we said tonight, the win means a lot in the regular season alone. The standings, you see how close we are, fam, to the Milwaukee Bucks. We can also get closer to the Magic and the Celtics now, 2.5 games back of first. 5th in net rating, 3rd in defense. Let's see the New York Knicks trademark victory tomorrow night on the road against the Bucks. That'll send a statement around this league that the New York Knicks are here for real. And I look forward to chopping it up with everyone post-game live. Salute everyone, replay squad. And let's get it. Enjoy it. And let's hope we don't have to play the Celtics, man, the following day. That's what awaits if the Knicks can't win. If the Knicks win, we'll be playing the Indiana Pacers on Thursday at 5 p.m. Fam, so that's going to be buzzing, like But yeah, salute to the chat, salute replay squad.